1924, these steam engines were just a marvel. This era of machine was the last to be produced and manufactured using convict labor. The late 1800s was not a fun time to be a farmer. That was right around the second part of the Industrial Revolution, and it's when farmers really started to be able to make the switch from full-on subsistence farming, where they were truly just trying to grow enough food to feed their families and animals, to having access to things like these steam engines, like threshing machines, having the power to actually be able to produce enough of a crop to feed their families, but then also sell a crop at market. In 1890, a bushel of corn was worth 20 cents. Oats were worth 15 cents a bushel, and wheat was worth 50 cents a bushel. We had the opportunity to talk to the now owner of this steam engine. He came out and talked to us about who had owned the machine and what it had been used for. It had actually been used to run a sawmill, and the boards that came out of this sawmill built the house that this man was living in to this day.
This wood shed, built out of wood that steam tractor engine helped mill. The house even had a basement.
Minneapolis Threshing Machine Company produced around 8,000 of these steam engines, and we had the honor of seeing one in person. I'm so curious to know what it would take to get this thing running again. As we walked around, you just can't help but imagine if that steam engine could talk, what stories would it be able to tell you? Can't imagine the things that it has seen from 1890 to now. Because of the increase in production in modern agriculture, farmers actually started to see the rise of monopolies. 1890 is when the Sherman Antitrust Act was initiated. Anyone remember learning about that in history class in school? The late 1800s and early 1900s was just such a pivotal time in the United States. Thinking about the modernization of transportation, people started to be able to drive cars and take trains places and use them not only for the transportation of themselves, but for the transportation of goods. There's just not very many old relics laying around like that, and it seemed to be in really good condition. The owner was so kind, and I'm so grateful that he allowed us to take some pictures and videos to share with you. Between us, Grant was just giddy the whole time we were there. I'd love to find out if there's some kind of event or meetup where old engines like this are still being used and operated. Things have obviously changed quite a lot in agriculture, as right now I'm driving a tractor down the road and I am sitting in an air ride seat and I have air conditioning everywhere. Imagine if the men that rode that steam engine and operated it all day long could see where we're at today. I think especially if they lived and farmed in Idaho, they would be shocked at how flat our land here in Nebraska is. While we were up there, we also had the chance to see some old side hill combines. Combines that are used to harvest grain in really steep conditions, but still keep that grain level so it can be properly threshed.
I didn't even know they made side hill combines this old. Check out the cylinder in there and the big cables. So this all keeps the insides of the combine level while the head and tires stay close to the ground. This is just like our combine at home, but with side hill stuff. This one looks like it's still in use.
Now this one's just a little bit beefier. And hey, it still has both spinners on the back. This one's doing way better.
Look at the even older one that got over here.
Oh man, that one doesn't look like it's in use anymore. But this thing, wow.
Look at this ladder.
I think we could get by with this. Bigger tires than on ours.
Very familiar.
You see any mice running around in there? I'm afraid I'm getting pretty close. I think a mouse might jump out at me.
Look at all the travel this combine has. We were around all those rock crawlers last week, and it's just amazing to see how much flex this combine has compared to it's like a Jeep of combine. It's incredible. So the combine needs to be level to work properly so all the grain flows through at an even rate. But the combine's leaning, all the grain's gonna flow to one side, and they dump a bunch of grain off the back. So to keep them level, they have to put these huge shocks, or huge hydraulic cylinders and cables to keep everything level.
Look at this. Its back half has been ripped off, so you can see all the grain gets sieved through, down and augured. The belt's looking in rough shape. The chain's not on either. We're definitely missing some tires.
Check out the engine fire. The owner said this combine caught on fire and was parted out here.
We've seen a couple combine fires, haven't we, Grant?
This one actually fared pretty good. Left a lot of savable parts. These older combines have a lot more metal on them than the newer ones. The newer ones have a lot of plastic.
Grant is a 6th generation farmer, carrying on the legacy and tradition that his family started so many years ago. 1878 is when Grant's relatives actually immigrated to the United States and started farming the land that we are still farming to this day. I feel so very fortunate to be farming in 2025 with all of the amenities that modern farming comes with. Right now, corn is about $4.10 to 25 cents, depending on where you're at. And it's not that great of a year. I was just trying to think about the spread between 20 cents then and $4.20 now, and what that kind of translates into. I may be a little biased, but I do think that farming is one of the coolest jobs in the entire world. I love being a farmer, and I love being able to share my story and other people's stories with you here on YouTube. So just let me take a small moment to say thank you for watching and following along on my journey. This buddy seat right here, this is where you sit, because we're in this together. I was doing a little bit of research about these steam engines, and I really couldn't find anything about how much they would have cost when they were first manufactured. I imagine it had to have been at least a couple $1,000s, right?
How can you beat this view? Nothing but green corn and blue skies as far as the eye can see. We're about 8 weeks out from applying Storen herbicide, and just look at these rows. They're clean all the way underneath the canopy. I've used other products that have faded out way before this. Storen's long-lasting residual is what really makes the difference. It lets the corn focus on growing strong without the weed competition. For us farmers, that means better grain fill and less stress mid-season. I've seen especially good control on the water hemp and palmer, 2 weeds that usually give us a lot of trouble here in Nebraska. If you're looking for reliable, season-long control, talk to your local Syngenta retailer about Storen or visit StorenWon'tQuit.com. Now let's get back to work. Finally time to unhook and park this thing. Got a little bit of a tractor jam in here, if you know what I mean. Never mind, it wasn't that easy.
While we are out and about, I think it is only right that we do a little bit of crop update. So let's go check on the corn.
Can you believe this stuff? I cannot even get to the bottom of the tassel. We are at, not full tassel yet because the pollen isn't coming down, but these plants are about to be pollinated, which is crazy because it feels like these were just planted a couple weeks ago. You can also see, look at the fuzzy hair we have on our developing ears of baby corn. Corn is a self-pollinating plant, but then it also kind of spreads around to the other ones. So all of this pollen, the stuff that makes you sneeze, will rain down, sprinkled by the wind, and pollinate each one of these little silks. Each silk is connected to a kernel of corn that is going to be developing. I'm going to sacrifice this one to show you where we're at in our stage right now. This is not sweet corn, this is field corn here. Look at those beautiful silks. I am encouraged because I don't see bugs or diseases hanging out around there. They look clean and crisp. And look at this. Here is our baby miniature ear of corn. Can we give it a taste? It's like corn. trying to just get the kernels, not the cob. All of this to say, sorry, baby corn. It is looking so good. Now, we just need the hail and the wind to stay away. They've developed pretty good roots. So there's a first root system under the ground. Then there's also these brace roots that come out and just give it a little extra support and stability. Need these corns to stay strong through harvest. We will probably start harvesting this like first week of October maybe. So stay tuned for that. So that's the best part of the whole farming year.
Now we just drive a little bit further and check on our soybeans.
Soybeans are getting tall. This was our very first planted field. They're almost up to hip height. Soybeans are so nice and bushy. They're very difficult to walk through. They're planted at such a high population. We've got a really good stand. They haven't been blown over by the wind or affected by any hail, knock on wood, but we are seeing some insect pressure right here. The leaves being eaten through. You can see these Japanese beetles just going to town. So that is, so far that's our main problem. But look at this. We have flowers. This is where our soybean pods are going to be coming in. So these leaves are just soaking up all sorts of sunlight. Our roots are strong, tapping down into the water that we have in the soil. Look at these guys. Growing big and strong. Now hopefully they will just develop a nice, hearty, full bean pod. We'll be ready for harvest come like end of September probably. Last but not least, I thought I'd include a little bit of a sweet corn update. These rows here were planted last, these 4. So as you can see, they're definitely behind these first planted ones that have already tasseled out and pollinated. We are going to be having sweet corn in no time. Looking great. This tractor right here joined our farm probably about in February of this year. So it doesn't even have a full year of work on our farm on it yet. Safe to say, farming looks a lot different in 2025 than it did way back in 1890. What is that, like over 130 years ago? We feel very blessed to have the equipment that we have today. But you know what? I'm sure the first farmers to have a steam engine on their farm thought they were the greatest farmers of their generation. They probably felt pretty good about themselves. I cannot imagine what farming is going to look like 135 years from now. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you learned something, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Top 50 tractor companies in the world data.